Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining me for this 10th installment of Please Join Me. This is Joe Traina, and I'm delighted to have with me today one of Broadway's perennial dancers for many, many years, Dana Moore. Ziegfeld has his favorite, and I have mine. Dana Moore has been front and center in many a Broadway show for many years, and it was always a thrill for me to see her down front and interpreting brilliantly the choreography of Bob Fosse, especially Bob Fosse. Dana, in the past, to give you a little history, has appeared in A Chorus Line, The Will Rogers Follies, On Your Toes, How to Succeed in Business Without Really Trying, and Singing in the Rain. She was a lead fruit dancer in the '86 revival of Sweet Charity, which I did see. She also appeared in the revival of Chicago and was featured in Fosse on Broadway and on the DVD, which chronicled Bob Fosse's work from the stage, film, and television. She is a designated reconstructeur with the Vernon Fosse legacy, pardon my lousy French, teaching Fosse master classes and remounting repertoire around the world. She served as dance coach and choreographic reconstructeur for several episodes of the FX limited series Fosse Vernon as well. Dana's on the faculty at Steps on Broadway. Internationally, she's worked as a teacher and choreographer in Toulouse, Oslo, Puri, Cyprus, Copenhagen for the Royal Danish Ballet, and closer to home with the Jazz Musical Theater program at Jacob's Pillow in Massachusetts. Welcome, Dana Moore.
I teach at Steps on Broadway. I teach for the musical theater department 5 mornings a week for Marymount Manhattan College. Daily dance, we call it. And we are now doing it virtually, as I am doing the Steps classes are virtual, and it's been quite the experience. It's really been a real learning curve for me, for sure. But I just really, I'm so happy to be able to be teaching and to, there are many wonderful things about virtually teaching that I never would have imagined. But yeah. And I'm also teaching, as you said, a reconstructeur for the Vernon Fosse legacy. I teach master classes at Steps and all over, but right now we're doing a lot of Steps and Broadway Dance Center. We're doing some master classes and intro to Fosse style. And I did do something other than teaching virtually. It's about to come out, I think. I did 9 at the Westchester Broadway Theater with Bob Cucciula and 18 other women, and wonderful, wonderful experience. And I played Lillian Lefleur, the producer. Yeah, with my accent. It was better then. Anyway, it was quite a while ago, but we have done, we've really, it was a real family experience, and we have kept together. It's been 10 years now since we did it. And the woman actually, Glory Crampton, do you know Glory Crampton?
Yes, the actress, the singer, the dancer.
Yes. She actually, she played our, what's the wife's name? I forgot the wife's name, but anyway, she played the wife in 9, and she has put together this whole thing where we've all recorded ourselves, and we are doing the opening, the opening number, which is a lot of la-las. But it's a wonderful number. It's such wonderful music. Maury Yeston and anyway, so it's gonna come out, and that's one way I have performed. Really, the only way I've performed since this pandemic has.
Now, when you say it's going to come out, we're going to be able to see it.
Yes, I believe it's going to be posted. I believe she'll post it definitely on Facebook. I'm not sure if she's going to connect it with, yeah, I'll let you know, actually. I'm not sure right now. I believe it will be public, and we can look for it. It's Us 9 Westchester Broadway Theater, which sadly is like just makes my heart heavy. Has just announced that they will be closing after all these years, like the last standing dinner theater, real dinner theater where you got served dinner. And
Yeah. Wagon Wheel. Did you ever play Wagon Wheel?
no, I did not, but I've gone to see people who did. Gosh, I did do the North Stage Dinner Theater back
Hmm.
100 years ago.
Right.
Um,
So tell us now, how did you get into dancing? Let's go back to the beginning. Obviously, you have legs that go on forever, and so there was the potential there physically to develop into the woman, the dancer who was always down front as far as I was. Oh, there's Dana Moore. There's Dana Moore, and my eye always went to Dana Moore. I mean, the other people were great too, but seriously, and where are you from? Tell us about the genesis of your career.
okay, I'm going to try to make it quick because I can give you lots of details. Uh, but I'll try. The short story is I actually started when I was 2.5,
Yeah.
dancing in a little dancing studio. That was actually a really great dancing studio. And it was really because my sister, who's 2 years older than I am, had a little bit of a birth defect in that her legs were very bowed. And as a child, as a toddler, she was in braces, and then corrective shoes, and then uh, and she's beautiful legs right now. That was just to say it worked. But the doctor recommended that she take ballet to give her leg muscles, the right alignment, and to strengthen that. And so she started, and I wasn't in the class, and she was 4, I think. And I just would sit there with my mom over at the side, and I would apparently do everything that was going on in the class. And finally, the teacher came over and said, "Well, why don't you just put her in the class? She's doing everything over here." So that's how that got started. But I moved to New York.
Where are you from originally? Where did
Oh,
you
I'm
come?
sorry. I'm from near Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania.
Ah, very good. Yeah,
Pennsylvania.
that's right.
Hello. We're happy about that. I am anyway. Um, Near Pittsburgh, out this little town called Sewickley, Pennsylvania, and this dancing teacher had branches all around. There was one in Beaver Falls, if you've heard of that. Some football players are from there.
Yes, yes. There's a lot of dancing, right, in Beaver
Yeah,
Falls?
yeah. I don't know, but I ran one of those studios. And anyway, I moved to New York right out of high school, and I had the great fortune of the um, summer before my junior and senior year. I auditioned for a scholarship to American Ballet Theater School, um, or American Ballet Theater, yeah, school, and I happened to get it, and it was for the summer after my senior year. So I moved to New York. My parents drove me up with my, trunk. Back in the day, we had trunks, and we even went on the road with trunks.
Oh,
I don't
yeah, I
think
did
that's right
too.
anymore. Yeah. Um, but they moved me to New York and walked me the path of where I was. I was at the Barbizon Hotel for Women,
Oh,
then
boy.
that over on Lexington and
That's
63rd.
right. It was on the east side. It's still
Yeah.
there?
Yeah. Well, it's another,
Kind of hotel.
yeah, kind of
Right.
hotel, like a boutique hotel. But this was
Yep,
like real residence for
yep,
women.
yep.
Quite the experience. And then, but my parents walked me up Central Park South, Central Park South, 59th Street, across to where ABT was, in a building that was 61st. between Central Park West and Broadway, right there. And I would ride that rickety elevator up, and I mean, it was amazing who I'd be riding that elevator with. You know, I mean, like I remember it was like August heat, and Nureyev got in with his big fur and his big fur hat, and I was just like you know, my jaw was down to my knees and couldn't speak. But anyway, I mean, just and you know, just there I was at American Ballet Theater. But anyway, I knew I needed the training, and I need, you know, of course I needed my classical ballet training, and I'm so glad that I have it and had it. But I also knew that I wanted to do Broadway dancing, even though I didn't even know really what that was. I just wanted to be Gwen Verdon, and I saw her on, my mother was, you know, enamored, and every time if she was on like a variety show or any kind of dancing that was on television, we watched it. And I was like, I have to dance like that. Yeah, that's me. So I kind of snuck out. We weren't really allowed to take classes from anywhere else while I was on that scholarship, but I snuck out to Luigi's classes. And I just, from there, that's what really got me going. Was I was taking from Luigi, and I was, you know, learning.
Now, who's Luigi, for folks that don't know?
Oh, Luigi, the, you know, really master jazz dancer, teacher. He was, it's not that long since he passed away, actually. He was teaching up into his, you know, early 80s. And I just, he was the guy. He was the guy that had the style, the technique, classic jazz, like from Jack Cole. You know, it's, and Jack Cole being the father of American jazz dance. I mean, he really was it. And Luigi actually, at least this is the story I learned, is that sometime in the 60s, maybe, he was in Hollywood and doing movies and dancing with, you know, Stanley Donen. And
Yep.
he was actually, if you watch the movie of Singing in the Rain, toward the end where Gene Kelly comes to the club and dances, of course, green dress girl, Sid Charisse.
Sure.
Before he knocks on the door of the club, and there's one of those windows, and the guy sticks his head out and says, "What, you know, like, do you have a password?" or whatever it is. Anyway, it's that's Luigi. That face is Luigi. He apparently had a very, very serious car accident while he, you know, during this time after he'd been in Hollywood for years. And it you know, was one of those things that every bone was broken and everything was like rearranged of his body. And he, you know, of course, the doctor said, "You will never walk again. You will never, you know, nothing's ever going to function again, and you'll certainly never dance." Well, of course, he took that on as the biggest challenge of his life, and he created this whole warm up and style of dance based on his knowledge of, you know, how he had to reconstruct his body and his muscular system. And of course, he did walk again, and he became this legendary teacher. And I just remember working with Mr. Fosse, you know, after I studied with Luigi for a while, and Mr. Fosse said, "I can tell you've studied with Luigi." You were having a conversation, and I was like, "Why?" And he said, "Because Luigi dancers know how to work." And it was so true. It was just an incredible discipline. And I did it even, go to dance conventions as I was growing up, and not just Luigi, but certainly there was Peter Gennaro and Matt Maddox, and all these wonderful, wonderful people would come, and we would take classes from them. But yeah, it's that old jazz that it's reminding me that it's it's classic, and it's not really taught so much anymore. So when we do the Fosse master classes, something is what seems to me, because I grew up with it, I just lived with it. That was my training. Something like isolations, which is basically you are to the music doing just your head, isolating certain ways, and then just your shoulders, and then your rib cage, and then your pelvis. And these are so important to Mr. Fosse's choreography, and they're not taught, and even if they are taught, they're not really taught in a classic way. So I'm bringing it back. I mean, I'm not the only one, but I mean, had some conversations, certainly with the other Fosse reconstructors, that it's so necessary. And what we see in the classes of the younger dancers, wonderful, wonderful dancers, so gifted, so giving and willing to do anything. But there is a language that they don't understand, or a body language that they don't understand, that is just innate to Mr. Fosse's work, based on his experience in, classic jazz and many, many other things that, he brought to his work. But yeah, and Miss Verdon too, Gwen Verdon, she was a Jack Cole dancer. She was his assistant. She was in many the movies that Jack Cole choreographed, and she went around and back in the day in the 40s. Why am I telling you all this? This is supposed to be about me, isn't it?
Well, it will be. In fact, I'm going to ask you a question in a minute when you're done talking about Gwen Verdon. We'll get back to you. No, talk. We can edit. We'll take the best of.
Okay. Yeah, Jack Cole had this whole nightclub show that they went around in the 40s, and Gwen was part of it, and it was just this amazing, amazing work that is the essence of classic jazz. And anyway, that we find in when we're teaching the Fosse technique and style, we are having to teach, and I mean, I'm grateful to do it, but we recognize that people come and they don't even have they don't have any familiarity with it, even just like to do a certain walk or a certain kind of like a palmant or something. So anyway, our job is intricate, and we love it.
Well, you're a keeper of the flame, and it's important, right, to make sure that language is preserved. Those particular, really, they're inventions of movement, of modern jazz dancing, of what it meant and means as an integral part of a piece. I want you to tell me a little bit again about where you come in.
Really, as a student in this little dancing school in Pennsylvania, that's where I started with jazz, and my teacher was an excellent teacher, and she was kind of well versed, and her, she learned much more than just by going to other classes, and traveling to be with other teachers. And she brought to us incredible tap technique, and incredible ballet technique, and incredible jazz technique. And so that's where I started doing jazz dancing, and I happened to be, I really took to it from what they tell me. And then Yeah, so I feel like I got something that I'm now realizing was really important and really serves the life of dance.
Yeah, legacy, right?
Yeah, yeah. Um, but I knew the name Jack Cole, and it's only really since I've been since I've been in New York that I understood, oh wow, he did something like 47 films and we don't even realize it. But as a choreographer, and again, he's father of jazz dancing, and there is Matt Maddox, who was one of his proteges, really. Um, Another that was really important in keeping the Jack Cole style, the classic jazz style, and it goes down, yeah. Um, Michael Bennett came from there. Bob
Ah,
Fosse came from there.
right.
The,
So I want you to tell me, right, of course, how did you become someone who danced for Fosse and whom, of course, he said, oh, this kid's got a lot of potential. Let's put her down front. But, you started to work, obviously. I imagine you had something of an experience of auditioning for shows, or maybe, who knows? Some people, they hit it off right away. The first show, and it's a great show, and here I am. So tell me, how did it go for you that way?
my first Broadway show, even prior to those Broadway shows, I did a series of shows that were trying to get to Broadway that ended up being flops. One of them being Hell's a Poppin'. That
Oh,
was the
yeah.
first one. That's what got me my equity card, actually. Jerry Lewis and Lynn Redgrave, and it was a big deal. Going to get to Broadway, but sadly did not. There were a bunch of other ones, actually, like four or five other ones. But I finally auditioned for Sugar Babies, Mickey Rooney and Ann Miller. Wonderful show, wonderful show. Um, just a lot of vaudeville and old. Just the style was just wonderful. It's like a vaudeville show. I mean, not a vaudeville show. House Poppin' was something that had been done. It was like House of Poppin' for the 1930s, House of Poppin' for the, was these Broadway shows. And anyway, here we are in the late 70s doing this. So anyway, that was my first Broadway show, Sugar Babies. Did I say that? No, House of Poppin' got me. I go to card. Sugar Babies is my first Broadway show on the Broadway. Um, and in that one, I did the Sally Rand feature with the.
Oh, yes. For folks that don't know, she used to do an act, I think, on a horse. And didn't she do rope tricks?
Actually, possibly, but it was the
It
fan,
was a it
it
was a
was
burlesque, right?
yeah, and she was a fan dancer that was
Yeah.
kind of beautifully done with her fans, never quite showing everything.
Right.
So it was a wonderful number that Ernie Flack created in Sugar Babies. But anyway, that's how I got in Sugar Babies, and then did another couple of shows that were supposed to go to Broadway, went on the road, didn't quite make it. Something called Colette, something called, actually, Copperfield did make it to Broadway for about 2 weeks. Copperfield, David Copperfield. Anyway, um, and then dancing, I auditioned for dancing actually several times. In fact, when Bob was first casting dancing back in, like, it must have been 1977, original casting, I went to those crazy cattle call auditions, and I had uh, it's just like unbelievable to me that I even got a call back, but I got a call back. And at that point, I'm thinking if I maybe had my equity card. I had my equity card. But anyway, um, I didn't get it, of course, but I did finally get into the show dancing after many auditions. And it got to the point where I was always getting to the end of these auditions, and they would call me, there were invited calls, and I was like, I'm not going again. I've been like 6 or 7 times. I always get to the end. They don't want me. And they called again, and I went, oh, all right, I'm going to go. I mean, like, who knows? Maybe. Got a call back, and at that callback, there were maybe 2 or 3 of us, ladies, and they narrowed it down to one of us, and that was me. And at the time, it was Chet Walker and Billy Hastings were the dance captains, and they were running this audition. And we were at the, where's Chicago right now? Broadhurst? No.
It's in the Ambassador Theater.
Ambassador. Okay, we were auditioning at the Ambassador Theater in the old days when we used to audition on the actual deck of a theater. And Bob Fosse was doing the recording of Pippin in the Minskoff Theater, rehearsing it. And the Pippin and you can YouTube, and it's Ben Vereen, and I think Cheetah's in it playing Lestrada. Anyway, he was a couple blocks away, so Chet said, put your coat on, we're going to walk over to the Minskoff Theater. And we walked in there, and Mr. Fosse put the whole cast on a break, and it was just me up on that stage doing a really lousy Ponte Arabesque and some other choreography. Ponte Arabesque is where the leg is way up, and I was so shaky that, I mean, sometimes I think he just felt sorry for me because it was so bad, but not really. Anyway, he was very kind and, very generous. He knew how nervous I was, and he was, anyway, I got the okay. Yes, she can fill that spot in the show that was opening up. So that's how I got that job. And then rehearsing it, he came by, he was doing other things, but he came by the rehearsal rooms a couple of times and helped me out, and checked out whether I was getting it the right way or whatever. And also Gwen Verdon at the time was the dance supervisor of Dancin'. And so she came, and I had a whole day of rehearsal with her, which is like, Gwen Verdon, I mean, like, I think I kind of wanted to be her, like, and here she is. She really is a person. She's really got flesh, and she really is just this incredible, generous teacher, and not liver, but living
pancreas.
just oh man.
This particular episode, ladies and gentlemen, Dana Moore, I will announce when this is going to be posted. This is Joe Traina, our 10th episode of Please Join Me, and I certainly hope you will. And thank you all, and also be healthy, ladies and gentlemen.
You've been listening to Please Join Me with Joe Traina. Be sure to listen anywhere you get your podcasts. Keep up with joetrainamusic.com for news and new episodes. You can listen to Joe's latest recording, Tip of the Hat, on all major streaming services and wherever fine music is sold. This episode was produced by Caroline Voigt.